Hi, my name is Micah Logan, and I am the Associate Director at the Teaching, Learning, and Professional Development Center here at Texas Tech University. At the TLPDC, we are so fortunate to see all of the amazing instructional delivery that is happening in classrooms, both face-to-face and online, across campus. And one of the things that makes our classroom experiences so strong is the use of transformational or high-impact teaching practices. Before we really dive in, I want to take a moment and acknowledge that the term high-impact practices is definitely one of the big educational buzzwords of the last 10 years. But I also want to assure you that these practices are actually measurable and made tangible by the list defined by George Kuh in 2008. So bear with me. As we look at the list of high-impact practices, many of these strategies may seem intuitive to you, or may seem like they are only relevant to specific groups or types of classes, or they may seem like something meant only for face-to-face classes. And so I'd like to spend a few minutes thinking through high-impact practices with you in the hopes that you might identify a way to integrate one or more of these strategies into your online classrooms. To make sure that we're all on the same page, my plan is to quickly walk through Kuh's list of high-impact practices and then talk through some of the common features behind this list. Essentially, the things we do as instructors that make these practices effective. Then, I'd like to focus on two specific practices and think about what that might look like for you in an online environment. Also, please note that this PowerPoint presentation will be made available. You can find the PowerPoint in the comments section or by clicking on the link provided now. One last logistical note about how I am making this video. Today, I have written a script, prepared my PowerPoint, and am using Skype for Business to capture my presentation as well as the narration. I will then use YouTube to add and edit captions. If you're interested in learning how to add captions in YouTube, I've included a link to a tutorial produced by TLPDC staff in the resources at the end of this presentation and in the comments section. The term high-impact practices was coined by George Kuh in 2008, and through his research, he identified these 11 types of courses, experiences, or activities as being significant or impactful in student learning and retention. Looking at this list, you can hopefully immediately identify several things that are happening in your own courses or departments that fall into this. In their 2013 publication, Ensuring Quality and Taking High-Impact Practices to Scale, George Kuh and Kuh ODonnell looked further into the research related to the previously established high-impact practices. Through their analysis, Kuh and ODonnell developed the following list of features or behaviors that contribute to the effectiveness of high-impact practices. For the sake of time, I am not going into the details of each of these features, but if you're interested in digging deeper, please take a look at the resources provided. As we said earlier, hopefully you're looking at some of these strategies and thinking, check, check, check. You might also be thinking, how in the world can I do that online? And this is where I really want to encourage you. Just as you think outside the box and problem solve to achieve the learning opportunities you want in a face-to-face environment, you can do the same online and continue to provide your students with an outstanding and meaningful learning experience. So, how do we do this? One resource that I find to be immensely helpful in thinking through high-impact practices online is High-Impact Practices in Online Education, edited by Catherine E. Linder and Chrysanthemum Madison Hayes. This text addresses each of Kuh's high-impact practices in an online setting, asking questions about course design, looking at case studies, and providing key takeaways and questions for reflection to help you as you consider implementation. In their conclusion, Future Directions for High-Impact Practices Online, Linder and Madison Hayes have refined their own list of strategies that help us to achieve high-impact practices online. Again, we don't have time to dive into each of these pieces. I wish we did, but we could talk for over an hour about each one, and there's just not time. Instead, I want to go back to our original list of high-impact practices and focus on tips and considerations for writing intensive courses and collaborative opportunities, two practices that can be implemented in a variety of online courses. If you'd like to look into some of the other high-impact practices in an online context, I encourage you to look into Linder and Madison Hayes' book. When we think about writing in collaborative assignments, I think it's easy to see how well the previously discussed characteristics or features identified by Kuh and O'Donnell align with these types of activities and create a platform for an impactful and potentially transformative learning experience. When we think about writing intensive courses online, it is critical that we remember that more writing does not necessarily equate to better writing. We want to be sure that we are focusing on quality, not quantity, as more writing can quickly become overwhelming for both students and faculty. With this in mind, as June Griffin addresses in her chapter, Writing Intensive Classes from High-Impact Practices in Online Education, it is more effective to ask students to complete meaning-making writing tasks than report back information provided through lecture or course reading. Be sure that you are thinking about what you're asking students to address. Look for ways to relate the assignment to their own experience and help them reflect and make connections. Be intentional in your assignment design and work to help students find meaning and authenticity in their assignments. Another thing to be aware of in an online writing intensive course is the literacy load placed on you and your students. Studies showed that the literacy load, the amount of reading and writing required in online courses, is already higher than face-to-face. So it is critical that you are even more purposeful in how you are structuring your writing assignments and how you are providing feedback to your students. Considering the significance of feedback in relation to the attributes of high-impact practices, while time-consuming, feedback is not something that we want to reduce or minimize in a writing-intensive course. To help manage your literacy load and time spent, you might also consider asking students to engage in thoughtful peer review processes. Another strategy suggested by Griffin is to provide screencast feedback using a video capture technology to record your voice along with whatever is happening on your screen, like I am doing now with Skype for Business. This type of feedback provides instructors with a platform for a more personal interaction with students, as you're able to point directly to specific issues or areas with the student's submission. You can also bring in additional resources, such as the assignment description or an online resource that might help you clarify points of confusion for the student. In addition to helping mitigate literacy load, this can also be a great way to build rapport and relationships. When we think about Kuh and O'Donnell's 2013 list of effective features or behaviors, writing assignments are a wonderful way to keep students engaged in their processing of information over an extended period of time, to provide opportunities for interaction with faculty and peers, to reflect on and integrate their learning, and to discover relevance of learning through real-world applications. I know that as I say the word collaborate in the context of an online or even face-to-face environment, you may have an involuntary shudder, and that's okay, I get it. Collaborative assignments can be challenging in the best of circumstances and can be even trickier to figure out in asynchronous courses, but it can be done, and it can be done well. Thinking back to Kuh and O'Donnell, collaborative assignments are a great way to help students increase the time they're spending on tasks, expose them to diversity, and provide a significant opportunity for them to engage in meaningful discourse with their peers. Long story short, they can definitely be worth the effort. In their chapter, Collaborative Assignments and Projects, from High-Impact Practices in Online Education, Robert John Robertson and Sharon Riggs have done an excellent job of addressing challenges and strategies for integrating collaborative assignments into online courses. For the sake of time, today I will try to highlight what I think are likely the most prevalent issues to consider when thinking about collaboration in an online environment. The challenges you will face with collaborative assignments are not unique to the online environment, but the solutions may not be the same as you might prefer in a classroom setting. Regarding group selection or assignment, I would encourage you to allow students to self-select based upon their availability. Are they morning people? Do they have more time during the week or the weekend? Helping students work around their schedules is even more important in an asynchronous environment. Also, be sure that you're having students indicate the time zone they're in to avoid unforeseen conflict and confusion. Another challenge that is especially problematic in an online environment is procrastination. By building in benchmarks or checkpoints throughout the course of the group project, you can help discourage last-minute work and are better able to identify a problem early if groups or individuals are missing their checkpoints. Another suggestion from Robertson and Riggs is to create opportunities for each group to check in and report back to the entire class in order to open up the discussion and provide status updates. This could be a great opportunity to expand collegial dialogue and encourage students to help provide feedback or troubleshoot as needed. Also, as Robertson and Riggs point out, all collaboration relies heavily on clear communication. However, the asynchronous online medium exacerbates the possibility of communication gaps and misunderstandings. So please be sure that you're establishing clear expectations or providing opportunities for your students to establish their own expectations for communication as a group. To help guide you through the design and implementation of an online collaborative assignment, Robertson and Riggs have compiled the following questions, which I find to be spot on and would highly encourage you to consider as you determine how, or even whether or not, to implement collaboration. As a reminder, a link to this PowerPoint is available in the comment section or by clicking on the link provided now. Whether you are teaching online or face-to-face, good teaching is good teaching, and that means it is going to take time to do it well. If you are designing a new online course or thinking about revamping an assignment or two, I would strongly encourage you to take the time beforehand to think through some of the questions or suggestions addressed here today, and I would highly recommend taking a look at high-impact practices in online education. I found each chapter to be extremely thoughtful and thought-provoking, and think it would be helpful to you whether you are a novice or highly experienced online instructor. If you have questions about your assignments or online courses, please don't hesitate to reach out to the staff at the Teaching, Learning, and Professional Development Center. I know that they would be happy to help you think through your assignment and identify potential hang-ups or problematic areas for your students. The staff at the TLPDC is here for you, and we look forward to seeing and hearing about the ways you are integrating high-impact practices into your online courses. Thank you for your time today, and good luck on your course.